Welcome to EDUC 6638, Advanced Assessment and Instruction in Reading. One of the first things I like to begin the semester with is a discussion about plagiarism. Many people wonder, am I guilty of plagiarizing? One of the intents of the Master of Arts programs at Piedmont is to help you to become a scholarly writer. Probably from the time that you were in middle school, if not earlier, your teachers have explained to you the importance of giving credit to those who write what you are reading in preparation for a report, an essay, or other paper. In short, if you do not give credit to the original author of whatever you are quoting from, you are plagiarizing. However, plagiarism of direct wording is not the only type of plagiarism. Plagiarism of ideas is just as important. You may not use one word from the original and still be plagiarizing. If an idea does not originate in your brain, then it is something that you are borrowing from another author, and that requires proper citation. Simply providing that citation will help you avoid plagiarism. Each assignment you turn in can be checked through Turnitin, the plagiarism checker used at Piedmont. When you submit it, Canvas will allow Turnitin to check your paper for instances of uncited written material from other sources. Almost every assignment has a small percentage of language in it that can be found in other documents. You want your Turnitin score to be as low as possible. Your instructor will check each instance identified by Turnitin and make a judgment whether the notation of plagiarism is valid. Your instructors look for scores no higher than 15%, but it depends upon what makes up that 15% as to what action will be taken. If an assignment you turn in has been plagiarized, then you will receive a 0 for the assignment, and the plagiarism will be reported to the Dean of the School of Education for further action. Do you still have questions about plagiarism? Read your academic integrity statement, which can be downloaded from Module 1, and watch this video. The link is provided here on the screen if you need a refresher on how to avoid plagiarizing. Periodically through the semester, your instructor will provide short strategy introductions. A good idea would be for you to jot these down and put them in a tickler file, or perhaps your resource file created in EDUC 6631 Reading Methods, so that you can refer to them when you have your own classroom. The first reading strategy is presented in this module. It is read aloud. Read aloud can be used in any content class. One of the ways teachers can model good reading is to read to students. We want to make the reading process as transparent as possible. Think of a read aloud as opening your brain up so that everyone can see what good readers do when they're reading. In this read aloud, the instructor will be modeling a prediction using the book A Chair for My Mother. What makes read aloud a good strategy? It can be used flexibly with any size group of students. It's an effective assessment strategy for measuring student comprehension. Thirdly, it helps make the reading process transparent for the poor reader, since the teacher is thinking aloud as the story is being read, letting students know how he or she makes sense of what is being read. What does good literacy education look like in practice? You will watch the video at the link given below, Literacy in the Second Grade Classroom. As you watch, jot down a list of everything you see that involves literacy. Are you beginning to see what a big job it is to be a teacher of reading? Next, we turn our attention to some reading theorists. There are actually two ways to look at learning. Two of the theorists in education that speak to the learning process are Jean Piaget and Lev Vygotsky. Piaget, who lived from 1886 to 1980, saw learning as a modification of children's cognitive structures as they interact with and adapt to their environment. Vygotsky, who lived from 1896 to 1934, thought that learning comes from verbal interaction with those around us. As babies learn to talk to the adults and other children around them, they learn to communicate with more and more precision. This is the same process that reading takes. As a reader, you move from pre-reading through emergent reading, beginning and fledgling reading, and then to the developing reading stage. You become more and more familiar with word structures, vocabulary, comprehension, and fluency, which are all part of the Big Five in reading, along with phonemic awareness and phonics. In reading, we're constantly trying to help students to draw connections from their lives to make sense of what they're reading. The same is true for the reading teacher. The graphic on this slide illustrates how the teacher uses his or her professional, personal, and practical knowledge, the connections that the teacher brings to the classroom to plan for and deliver instruction, and then to assess student learning. All this, in turn, affects the attitudes that students have toward reading and writing. So what's so important about reading assessment? Assessment helps us to know what progress students have made toward being good readers. Once we have assessed students, however, what can we do to provide additional help or scaffolding for readers who are struggling? One way is through response to intervention. Response to intervention came from the federal legislation passed called IDEA. And today, the revision of that legislation called IDEIA. IDEA is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and IDEIA is Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act, which was reissued in 2004. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act called for teachers to make explicit efforts to meet the special learning needs of their students. We have found that, in spite of all the training and money we've thrown at reading problems in American schools, reading growth has plateaued for more than 30 years. While there are many factors that impact reading growth, there is a startling statistic that says that 50% of American adults read on the 8th grade level. Many of those with reading levels this low are parents who might want to help their students to become better readers, but really don't know how to help them. Think about this for a minute. What does this say about the quality of our past reading instruction programs if we're plateaued for the last 30 years?